Hi, my name is Pavan Nag. I'm from Bangalore, India. This is the week 1 assignment for Introduction to Music Production. Today I'll be talking about the microphone basics, types of microphones, polar patterns, and the frequency response. To start off with, microphones are transducers. Transducers convert one form of energy to another. Like, a microphone converts a sound pressure variation to an electrical signals. To start off with, there are two basic types of microphones. One is dynamic, the other one being the condenser microphone. Let's start off with the dynamic microphone. The image here shows a dynamic microphone. The dynamic microphone works on the basis of electromagnetic theory. The dynamic microphone is rugged, and the model here in the picture is from Shure SM58. It is mostly used on live stage performances as it doesn't give a feedback. Now, moving on to the next microphone pattern, that's the condenser microphone. The image here is a condenser microphone from Gemini. Condenser microphone works on the principle of electrostatics. Now, the condenser microphones need an external source of power to function. Now, this supplement of power is through the XLR cables, which are connected to the microphone through the audio interface, which supplies the electric power, and this system of powering is called phantom powering. It's about 48 volts. Now, microphones have a different tendency of capturing sound, as in they have polar patterns, which is like a small inverted heart shaped diagram which is on top of most condenser microphones, and we can select the polar patterns as per the requirement of the recording. To start off with, on the polar patterns, we have the carioid. The name carioid, derived from cario meaning the heart, is shaped like an inverted heart. The frequency response of a carioid polar pattern will depend on the amount of intensity of sound being put in through this direction. This is what we call the directional microphones, and the direction where the microphone captures the signal would be from this range, and the other ranges are neglected, and the sound is totally neglected when it comes to the rear end of the microphone, and the sound capturing capacity is pretty high when it is towards the front end of the microphone. This is what we call a carioid polar pattern. The next would be the hypercarioid polar patterns. This is similar to a carioid, but has a little bit of an extension towards the rear end for capturing sound from an opposite end. And this is pretty much very useful if you are talking about recording two voices, one being feeble, the other one being a little higher. So the voice which is going to be placed, the audio signal which is going to be captured from this end of the microphone will be higher when compared to the rear end of the microphone. This polar pattern is the hypercarioid polar pattern. The next, we have the figure of 8. It looks like the number 8, and in this polar pattern there is an equal intensity of sound being captured from both the ends, towards the front and the rear, and the sound is neglected for capturing from the sides of the microphone. So basically you can have two singers placed back to back towards the front and the back of the microphone, and the recording will be an optimal level of signal from both the ends, both front and the rear. This polar pattern is figure of 8. Moving up next, we have unidirectional polar pattern. Now what we studied so far was directional, meaning the sound being captured from only one direction or two. But omnidirectional microphones are designed to capture the sounds of environment much better, because the microphone captures sound signals from all the 360 degrees. So if you are talking about a microphone for an interview where you don't have to pass the microphone to one another, you can use omnidirectional microphone where you can place the microphone in between people who are speaking, and there is no necessity of moving it around. Or even better, you can use these microphones for capturing better ambience, as in like a traffic or jungle. The omnidirectional microphones come in handy when we talk about microphones, condenser microphones, which are fitted mostly with video cameras. Now this polar pattern is omnidirectional polar pattern. Also, the microphones respond to the frequency range of human hearing. The human hearing frequency range is from 20 Hz to 20 kilohertz, or 20 Hz to 20,000 Hz. Now the microphones such as dynamic microphone, as we spoke about the SM58, we have the frequency response graph like this one. Something, the frequency range about 5,000 to 9,000 Hz is a little exaggerated, meaning this microphone is best suited for vocals and for sounds which is of the mid frequency. We can see here that the graph is down below, it's plunging towards the lower end, and towards the mid segment it is pretty bright. So this microphone is pretty good in response to the mid frequency, or towards a frequency range of 5 to 7 or 5 to 9,000 Hz. And this is the vocal range. This is the frequency graph for the dynamic microphone, such as the SM58. And when we talk about the condenser microphone, the frequency response graph is much more flatter compared to the dynamic frequency response. Here we can observe that the graph is very steady, starting from the lower end towards the higher end, and these microphones are designed for capturing the higher intensity brighter. So you have a better intensity of sound when you speak about the frequency range somewhere about 5,500 to 6,000 Hz to about 10,000 to 11,000 Hz. So this is the frequency response graph for a condenser microphone, and the example is like SM27 condenser microphone. This would be the frequency response graph. Now the microphones are widely used for different purposes, and we can go check it out, like people using it for vocals, people using it for instruments, depending on the criteria, depending on the requirement, depending on the purpose of the recording. We can choose the microphone depending on, it could be dynamic or condenser. Now this completes the microphone types, microphone polar patterns, and microphone frequency response. I hope I've provided all the information correctly. If I'm wrong at any point, please do correct me, and thanks for taking your time to watch this video. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.